Hello and welcome to another video. So today we are checking out a pretty straightforward Elana Haven build. It is running mostly the Mecha engine, as that is pretty normal, as basically all you can do. I mean, the Machina cards do a wonderful job, and that's really all there is to them. They are very straightforward. They add a lot of support, of course, to the archetype, and if you've played any kind of Elana, you know it's still one of the top decks around the ranked ladder. So we are going to get right into it and take a look. So our first match here is going to be against a Rune, because why wouldn't it be? Rune is another very popular deck in the meta. If you're wondering about the backdrop and the music, if that is actually audible due to my settings, then this was recorded from the Grand Prix matches. My next few videos are actually going to be set up that way because I thought, why not do videos while also doing Grand Prix runs, so why not combo them both together? And Grand Prix runs give me a good sample size of meta defining decks, so it usually gives me a pretty decent outcome. Of course that won't be true for every single match, but for the most part that's what I aimed for. So we start off fairly well. You want to go for as much early game as you can, generating as much heal as you can and draw power to try and get that Elana in your hand if you don't already have it. That's definitely what you want. The Mech Staff Sorcerer isn't a big deal to have to deal with. And of course we do get Elana on 4 perfectly out of that. The odds of us getting one is actually reasonably high once you play that draw card there. I think it would have been like a just less than a 1 in 3, which is fairly good odds. Or actually it might have been more because we're drawing 2 cards, so our odds do increase a little bit. So we'll go for the Zoplay with the Tender Rabbit, plus we got the repair mode as well. And we can even use the Evo to max out our HP, because of course we want to make sure that we got maximum health here. Plus we're basically drawing as many cards as we can from our deck, which will put us now into burn stages, but I'm not really worried about that considering what's on board now. So only real risk here is this Tetra play. So it's not going in our favour right now. But as long as Elana can stick to the board, we are at least going to be doing better than our opponent. So Flawed Saint with an Evo will kill off the 5/5, that'll just leave them with a 1/1. Plus we get to activate Flawed Saint's ability, which will then allow us to, of course, potentially get Heavenly Aegis after a couple of destructions. Although I should have definitely played Salvation. I just completely misplayed not playing the Salvation there. Our opponent though, just kind of going through normally, spamming followers, exactly what Mecha wants to do. But for us, that's a pretty easy board to clear with an Evo, so why hold out? And from there we just pretty much take the stats we need with the repair mode. Stream Player does kind of give me a run for my money though. They push me right up against the edge here with some of their plays usually. It looks like they have started to finally run dry on cards that could be useful. Especially since they've only got that Delta Cannon and one other card in hand. That doesn't leave them with a lot of options. Now I can get a reasonably cheap Gem Princess, which will give us a pretty decent advantage. You usually like to get that down earlier. I like to have it kind of a turn 4-5 Elana into turn 6 Gem Princess. Didn't really get a chance to do that due to dealing with the boards, but now that it's up, we basically have the permanent buff abilities, which is great. It's definitely the situation you want to be in at this point in the game. And that Techno Lord felt bad to me. I definitely wouldn't want to play it as a full-on 8-drop, but I can see why they basically had no choice. It's not the best spot for the opponent to end up in, that's for sure. So our overpower and repair mode play pretty much just allows us to take the board. I could have went face, but decided against that in favor of course, developing our board completely while at the same time making sure our opponent basically is relying on whatever's in hand. And that tend to work pretty well for us. So next up for our games, we have a Bloodcraft, another very popular one. Seems like Blood, Haven, and Rune create the kind of top of the meta decks at the moment, which isn't a huge surprise. It just seems like, to me at least, Blood seems to be the dominant force when it comes to the current Rotation Cup, which by the time this video goes out will already be into the second or final stage, so sorry about that, but I do these at least a few days in advance. So we got the double Golden Bell play. I actually don't mind double Golden Bell play typically. It's a usually really good start to a game. And since we already have Elana and Gem Princess, and along with Holy Lord, we actually got a turn 5 through 7 play because of course we want to use Elana with Evo. So these draws are going to be very important for next turn at least. We have a rough start though, as our Blood player does have a really good starting hand. And since we haven't been able to present any actual counter, we're definitely playing on the back of this. The Unleashed Nightmare. Into what? An Elana. Great. That's a good way to go, I guess. Elana, that will work. We still have one play. So we can use Tender Rabbit now, which will gain us our health back a little bit. So while we're behind a bit, we're going to be ahead in other situations, like our board state. And going forward, Holy Bowman is going to be absolutely devastating. So we're going to take a bit of damage, not exactly what I want. And I go for Gem Princess first, instead of going for Holy Bow. Gem Princess seems like a little bit more of a risk, but I felt like gaining the health back like this was going to be more important long term, especially since I can go for Holy Bow next turn and actually get 4 damage board clear. Which just seems like a much better line of play. If that's the one we want to make, that is, of course. Actually, sorry, no, we can't go for that because we can't use the Evo point, but either way, we still get a really nice setup for long term. I did completely stuff up this play though, to be fair. I really shouldn't have done what I'd done there. I assumed I was already at 9 because we were so far into the game, but it really put me in a risky spot, leaving me with just 1 point of health left. So I need to start making up health. Luckily for us, we have a fairly good pool to pull from. And that gave me enough of an edge. Although I definitely should have went for Robo Goblin first. Again, just ordering mistakes mostly, and not correctly reading, which sucked. But I could have actually dominated this match a lot easier than what I was doing here. But some of these matches aren't always the best of the best. But that was definitely enough for us to pull the win there. So hopefully guys enjoyed this video. This deck is pretty dominating. This is actually what took me through to Group A for the first time in this current cup, and has done a very good job throughout. So if you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. You will find the deck list in the description below. Until next time guys, see ya.